Sarah woke up early, excited for the day ahead. Today, she and her family were going to the beach. The sun was shining and the sky was a beautiful blue. She quickly got dressed in her favourite swimsuit and ran downstairs for breakfast. Her mum was packing a big picnic basket with sandwiches, fruit and cold drinks. Her dad was loading the car with towels, umbrellas and a big beach ball. Sarah's little brother Tim was trying to carry his toy shovel and bucket. "Are we ready to go?" asked Dad with a smile. "Yes," shouted Sarah and Tim together. The drive to the beach was short, and soon they were there. The sound of the waves and the smell of the salty sea filled the air. Sarah could hardly wait to get to the sand. Once they found a perfect spot, Dad set up the umbrella and spread out the towels. Mum placed the picnic basket under the shade. Sarah and Tim grabbed their buckets and shovels and ran to the water's edge. "Let's build the biggest sand castle ever," Tim said, his eyes sparkling with excitement. Sarah agreed, and they started digging and shaping the wet sand. They worked hard, making tall towers and deep moats. Mum and Dad even joined in, helping to decorate the castle with seashells and seaweed. After a while, they decided it was time to cool off in the ocean. The water was refreshing, and Sarah loved jumping over the waves with her family. They laughed and splashed, enjoying the warm sun and the cool water. As the day went on, they decided to take a break and have lunch. They sat under the umbrella, eating their sandwiches and sipping their drinks. Tim was the first to finish and ran back to the shore, searching for more shells. "Look what I found!" Tim suddenly shouted, holding up a glass bottle. Sarah ran over to see. The bottle was old and covered in sand. Inside, they could see a piece of paper rolled up tightly. "What do you think it is?" Sarah asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Let's open it and find out," said Dad, gently taking the bottle from Tim. He carefully pulled out the cork and slid out the paper. They all gathered around as Dad unrolled the message. It was a map with strange symbols and an X marking a spot. "A treasure map!" Sarah gasped. Mum smiled. "It looks like we're going on an adventure," she said. Excitedly, they packed up their things and started to follow the map. With the mysterious map in hand, Sarah and her family began their adventure. The map showed the beach they were on and some landmarks they needed to find. The first clue was a large rock shaped like a turtle. "Where could that be?" Sarah wondered aloud, looking up and down the beach. "Let's split up and look for it," Dad suggested. Sarah and Tim ran along the shoreline, scanning the sand for anything that looked like a turtle. Mum and Dad walked in the opposite direction, keeping their eyes peeled. After a few minutes, Tim shouted, "I found it! Over here!" Sarah and her parents hurried to where Tim was standing. Sure enough, there was a big rock that looked just like a turtle. The shell was rounded, and the head and flippers were clearly visible. "Great job, Tim," Dad said, patting him on the back. "What's the next clue?" asked Sarah, looking at the map again. Mum pointed to a picture of a tall palm tree with a broken top. "We need to find that tree next," she said. They continued their search, walking past families playing in the sand and people relaxing under umbrellas. After a while, they spotted the palm tree. Its top was indeed broken, just like the map showed. "Here it is," Sarah said, pointing excitedly. Dad studied the map closely. "It looks like we need to go into the forest a little bit," he said, indicating a path that led away from the beach and into a small grove of trees. They followed the path, feeling the soft sand turn into cool, shaded dirt beneath their feet. The sounds of the beach grew quieter as they ventured deeper into the trees. Birds chirped overhead, and the air smelled fresh and earthy. After a short walk, they came to a small clearing with a large, flat stone in the centre. The map showed the stone with an X right in the middle of it. "This must be the spot," said Mum, her voice filled with anticipation. Tim ran to the stone and started examining it. "Do you think the treasure is buried here?" he asked, looking up at his parents. "Maybe," said Dad, kneeling down beside him. "Let's see if there's anything under it." Sarah and her family worked together to push the heavy stone. It was tough, but they were determined. After a few tries, they managed to move it aside, revealing a small wooden box buried in the dirt. "We found it!" Sarah shouted, her heart racing with excitement. Dad carefully lifted the box out of the ground and brushed off the dirt. It was old and worn, but still intact. He slowly opened the lid, and inside they found a collection of shiny coins, colourful gems, and a small, rolled-up scroll. "This is amazing," Sarah said, staring at the treasure in awe. Mum unrolled the scroll and read it aloud. "Congratulations! You have found the hidden treasure. This treasure was left here many years ago by a kind old pirate who wanted to share his riches with those who could find it. Enjoy your adventure, and always treasure your family and friends." Sarah and her family smiled at each other, feeling happy and proud. They had worked together and discovered something special. The treasure was beautiful, but the best part of the day was the fun they had and the memories they made. "Let's take this back to the beach and have a closer look," Dad suggested. With the treasure in hand, they walked back to the beach, excited to share their incredible story and continue their wonderful day by the sea. Back at the beach, Sarah and her family found a shady spot under their umbrella. They sat in a circle around the wooden box, eager to examine the treasure they had discovered. Sarah picked up one of the shiny coins and held it up to the sunlight. "Look how it sparkles," she said, her eyes wide with wonder. Tim reached for a colourful gem, turning it over in his hands. "This is the best treasure ever," he exclaimed. Mum smiled and said, "Remember what the scroll said. The old pirate wanted to share his riches with those who could find it. Maybe we should share some of our treasure too." Sarah and Tim looked at each other, then back at the treasure. They both nodded. "That's a great idea, Mum," Sarah said. "But who should we share it with?" Just then, they heard laughter and splashing coming from a group of kids playing nearby. Sarah recognised some of them from school. She and Tim decided to invite them over to see the treasure. "Hey everyone, come and look at what we found," Sarah called out. The kids ran over, curious about the wooden box. Sarah and Tim told them the whole story about finding the map, following the clues, and discovering the treasure. "Wow, that's amazing," said one of the kids, a boy named Jake. "I've never seen anything like it." "We thought it would be fun to share some of the treasure with our friends," Sarah explained. "Would you like to have a coin or a gem to remember this day?" The kids' faces lit up with excitement. They each picked out a coin or a gem from the box, thanking Sarah and Tim for sharing. "This is the best day at the beach ever," said a girl named Lily, holding her shiny coin close. Sarah felt a warm glow of happiness inside. Sharing the treasure made the day even more special. She looked at her family and smiled. They had turned an ordinary beach day into an extraordinary adventure, and now they had new friends to share it with. As the afternoon went on, more families and children gathered around to hear the story and see the treasure. Sarah and Tim continued to share the coins and gems, feeling joy in every smile they saw. After a while, Dad suggested they keep a few pieces of the treasure as keepsakes. "We don't need to give it all away," he said. "Let's keep some to remember our adventure." Sarah and Tim agreed. They each picked out their favourite coin and gem, then closed the wooden box. They still had plenty to share with others who came by. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with beautiful shades of orange and pink, Sarah's family gathered their things and got ready to head home. They were tired but happy. their hearts full of the day's adventures. "I'll never forget this day," Sarah said, holding her treasure tightly. "Me neither," Tim agreed. "It was the best day ever." Mum and Dad smiled at each other. "We're glad you had fun," Mum said, "and we're proud of how you shared the treasure with others." As they walked back to the car, Sarah looked back at the beach one last time. She knew they would have more adventures in the future, but this one would always be special. It wasn't just about the treasure they found. It was about the fun, the laughter, and the memories they created together. And with that happy thought, Sarah and her family drove home, the sun setting behind them, marking the end of a perfect day at the beach. As the evening went by, Mum and Dad sat down with a cup of tea in their hands. Mum softly whispered, "I can't believe they bought it." Dad chuckled and said, "I think we did a good job. Did you see the look on their excited faces?"